I love that phrase. It is my favorite go-to. I say that every single time I talk about a death benefit.
So hi everybody, Grady Polson. Welcome to the America Agency. Let's dig in though now to the script, because that's where I want to, that's what the people want. They're like, what are the magic Jenna words, the Saunier-isms that I can then copy and emulate and start to achieve the success that you're having. So you're getting into it, but I wanted to just kind of.
Yeah, no, I go on tangents. Sorry.
That's what we're doing here.
So what I've realized that Elise and I have, like, we always bounce everything off each other's brains. And what we put together was, when we're first getting on the phone with them, we want to know what they're looking for it to do for them. We want to know what they have. And we also want to know how much information they have, like how educated they are on it. So we're asking these questions. So with the leads that I get, I know what their goal is. So I know if it's going to be building generational wealth, protecting their family, tax-free retirement savings, financial freedom, they can, like, I'll have a goal for them. So when I get them on the phone, I'm very chill. When I get on the phone, I'm not excited to talk to you at all. I'm just like, hey, this is Jenna. Just came back to you about the information you requested on the IUL. How are you doing today? And then I'm like, yeah, it's index universal life insurance. And I'll say, like, hey, you put your goal was this. What do you so if it's tax-free retirement savings or, wanting to build more money, I'm immediately going to say, okay, do you have anything that's building you some kind of cash accumulation now? Anything like a 401k or an IRA? If they say yes, I'm like, okay, great. Does your employer match it? If they say yes, I'm like, oh, that's great. I always tell people not to give up free money. It's just like my little thing, and they giggle. And then, so I want to know what they have that's building them cash accumulation, if anything at all. I want to know if they have life insurance in place. So I'm always going to ask, cool, do you have any kind of life insurance in place or anything that would protect you while you're living if you were to get sick or injured, disabled, anything like that? They'll tell you. A lot of the time it'll be from work, which is like, cool. Work life insurance is kind of like a company vehicle. If for whatever reason you don't work there anymore, you got to turn back in that company car. It's usually term insurance, so it's going to expire. By the time it expires, you've outlived your ability to qualify for it. Cost of insurance has just skyrocketed for a lot less coverage. I want to figure out what their situation is. And then also I want to know, because a lot of people you'll talk to with IULs, it's a whole different ballgame. So these people will only want it for the cash accumulation. They don't care about the death benefit or this and that. And they'll always say they don't have anyone or like whatever. They haven't thought about it. I do my best to put importance on the value of the life insurance aspect, because what you're going to run into a lot in today's economy is a lot of people who are like 55 years old who are looking for this solely for the cash purposes, but they only have $100 to put into it. Unfortunately, the cash accumulation is not going to look that beautiful. So I need them to see the importance of the product as a whole. So I just I ask them little questions. I'm just planting seeds. Now I'm going to briefly touch on the basic bullet points of the IUL. So, because a lot of people will be like, I don't even know what this is, if you just try to roll into asking them qualification questions. So, I'll say like, all right, cool. It's a life insurance contract that's going to give you 3 different benefits. Permanent tax-free death benefit. I give a little description. Living benefits, little description. Cash accumulation, grows with compounding interest, participates in the highs of the market, protected from ever losing, grows tax, you take it out tax-free, the whole thing. But I make it brief because I don't want to get too detailed with them, because if they can't qualify, I've run into...
What? Will you do that one more time? Just because there's people going, I want to copy her specific words. Will you just do that one more time?
Yeah. So, okay. So I'll be like,
yeah.
No. So I always say, I'm going to touch on the basic bullet points of the IUL with you. And then after we see if you can qualify, I'm going to explain everything a lot more in depth to you. So an IUL is a life insurance contract where you put your money in and you get an insurance benefit that's going to provide you with three things. Number one is a permanent tax-free death benefit. So when you suddenly pass away, anything happens to you, this is what's going to transfer over to your loved ones. If I already know who that person is, I'm going to say their name. You're going to leave them with a check instead of a bill. All right. I love that phrase. You're going to leave them with a check instead of a bill. It is my favorite go-to. I say that every single time I talk about a death benefit. All right. Then the second part is the living benefits. So this is going to cover you while you're living. If you were to get a terminal, chronic, critical illness or injury, you would have access to that death benefit money while you're still living. Then the third part is the cash accumulation. So the rest of the money you put into this is going to be growing with compounding interest, which means the more you put into it and the longer you keep it in, the faster and the more that cash accumulation grows. Participates in the highs of the market like the S&P 500, and it's protected from ever losing. It grows tax deferred, and when you take it out tax free. So then I now go into what we're going to do for this call, setting the table. So I'm going to say, keep in mind, an IUL isn't something that you can just purchase. It is something that you have to qualify for because at the end of the day, this is a life insurance contract. So what we're going to do during this call, I'm going to ask you a few underwriting questions just to make sure that there's nothing that's going to keep you from qualifying for it. I'm going to walk you through a clear explanation of exactly how the IUL works. And using all the inputs that you give me, I'm going to be able to design a personalized illustration that's structured based on your situation and the goals you're wanting to achieve. We'll walk through those numbers together. And if it looks good to you, we'll send in a request for one of the major insurance carriers to see if we can get you approved. Sound good? And now I'm letting you know what we're going to do during this process. And then I follow that up with, all right, a little bit about me. I'm an independent broker. I'm contracted with over 30 A+ rated carriers in the nation. So what that means is I don't work for them. I just have access to all of them. I work for you. My job's just to help you figure out the different options available for you and do that shopping for you to make sure you're in the right situation. So we're like, cool. Now, I tell them what it takes to qualify for the IUL. So the insurance carriers look at three major things. They're going to look at your health. Number one, they can and will see everything in your medical history for the last 10 years to determine your eligibility. Two, they look at your record, meaning your driving record and your criminal record. And three, they look at your income. They just want to make sure it's something that you can qualify for. They just want to make sure it's something that you can afford. Basically, you're working, you have a job. And we need to make sure it's comfortable for you and your budget. So I dive into the underwriting questions. If you guys are used to final expense, this is very different because this is very thorough. It's hard to qualify for an IUL. So you learn that as you go to the things like it's just like, final expense or anything else. You learn what they're going to be able to qualify for. Like, if you're diabetic and you're on insulin, you're not going to get an IUL. You can't. There's just like certain knockouts. If you've had a DUI in the last 5 years, if you have a felony in the last 10 years, things like that. Like you learn that as you go, but your inventory is very, very thorough. So what Elise and I implemented, and Nicole, we worked on a lot together. When we're going through the inventory, what I started doing was once somebody tells me something that I know is an immediate knockout, once I get through that portion, like the medical, I prep them for my whole life pivot. I'm like, hey, just to be really transparent with you, due to, diabetes on insulin or, COPD or whatever the case is, it's going to be really hard to get you to qualify for an IUL. Luckily, like I said, I'm contracted with all the different top A-rated carriers. I'm going to have something for you no matter what. I'm still going to try my hardest to get you to get approved. But even if we can't, I'm still going to have something for you that's going to protect you and be the best for you. All right? Cool. So now I continue with it. But I want them to know that I'm trying my best. And also I'm going to have a plan B. So now, once we get through the whole, inventory sheet, if I know that they can't qualify, I'm not going to go into detail about how the IUL works. I'm actually going to skip and I'm going to whole life pivot. So I'm going to get a contribution amount. I'm going to figure out what they can afford, and I'm going to figure out what kind of coverage I can get them for that. And I'm going to walk them through that. And sometimes you have someone who's mad, you can't win them all, but usually it's not that big of a problem if you explain it like kind of accurately. And also I'm very good at this too. I'm very stern with people and very direct. So they're like, well, I wanted the IUL. That's great. You can't get one. Like, that's not you. I know you wanted it. We all want it, but that doesn't work. But I also know that you have 2 kids and you have no life insurance. So what would that look like for them? We already talked about this. You said that would look catastrophic. So we need to make sure you have some kind of coverage, because people walk outside and get hit by a car every day. It's also going to grow you cash accumulation. And this is what Elise started applying, which is great. She started saying, with this, you're going to get, 3 to 5% on your money. And this isn't based off of the market. This is guaranteed, so if the market crashes, there's no zero floor. You're still making 3 to 5%. So I like that. Also, there's just a bunch of, I'll go into like how I explain the IUL, because I feel like that's what I've talked about a lot.
Pause for 2 seconds real quick.
Yeah.
Because you're just on fire and I love it. So what she's talking about right now, guys, is when you're trying to pitch a product that you have. Now, why she's cautious about how much she explains, because she does, it's like, hey, you can qualify at 2% for this new home. Oh, but wait, now it's 7% and your payment just went up $1,500. Right. So maybe we don't know what you could qualify for, but she's teasing a little to continue the conversation. But how she pivots from IUL to whole life is why she is profitable. And that becomes a responsibility of you as a business owner to understand that your job is still to sell some life insurance, right? And it's your job to earn income for your family. This, as she just described, this client, you still have 2 kids and have no life insurance. So because you couldn't get it, like, this is where you become strong and don't go, well, it's unfortunate you couldn't get something. I'm so sorry. And no, it's where you pivot and have other as an archer, have other arrows in your quiver that you can use to pivot. One could even be an accidental close, right? You could even go all the way to Moo Accidental or Instabrain's Accidental, America's Accidental. So understand that. But then at the same standpoint, guys, actuarial science, I'm going to use that word with you and hopefully you remember it and you can use it with your clients. Actuarial science is the study of mortality. And that is why that whole life, our whole lives, which cap out at 30, 40, 50,000, have less stringent underwriting guidelines than our terms and IULs, because the actuarial science says that the cost of mortality or the death is more likely. So we'll just take less risk. We'll cap the insurance company's risk at 30, 40, 50,000 versus terms and IULs, which can go up to 300, 400, 500, $1 million of risk they're putting on life. So that's how it works. So you're like, well, it's unfair. Like, as agents understand this concept, like, it's based on health. What is the likelihood that a 22-year-old with 3 DUIs is going to die? It's higher because he's not making good life choices. 67-year-old, no health issues, right? We got some chances, different directions we can go. So it's just, that's what it's based on. So just a little bit of background, education for everybody. But let's bring on the smoke, Jenna.
Okay. So this is just the way I've said it. This I have changed only a little since when I made it that one day after Riyadh made me cry. So when I explain an IUL, I'll read you word. I'm very pen and paper, by the way. I have my script and I know this by my heart, but I'm going to read it for you.
Please,
all right.
Thank you.
So now I get into, since I know they can qualify, I'm like, all right, so we're going to get into the fun stuff on how an IUL works. So like I said, an IUL, it's a life insurance contract where you put your money into it and part of that money goes towards the cost of insurance. That's going to provide you with a permanent tax-free death benefit. So like I said earlier, if you were to suddenly pass away, this is what's going to transfer over to your loved ones. You're going to leave them with a check instead of a bill. No one's having to create a GoFundMe account to afford those final expenses. Now, this is also immediate coverage. If the insurance carrier came back, said, congratulations, you're approved, they took that first premium payment, and you were to pass away the next day, that death benefit would immediately transfer over to your loved ones. Now, the second part of that insurance is the living benefits. If you were to get something like a terminal, chronic, critical illness or injury, so if you were to get diagnosed with cancer and have 12 months or less to live, if you were to have a heart attack or a stroke, if you were to get in a car accident and become disabled, you would have access to that death benefit money while you're still living. This is what would cover your medical expenses, take care of your rent or your mortgage, fund a business, take care of your kids if you were to get sick or injured and be unable to work. All right. So that's the insurance part of the IUL. Now, the third part is the cash accumulation. The rest of the money is going to go into a savings account that we call the cash value. And here the money will grow and compound with an interest rate. The money is going to grow tax deferred. And when you take the money out, you take it out tax free. Now, what an IUL stands for is Indexed Universal Life. The word index is important because it means that the money that goes into the account is not directly invested in the stock market, but it follows the stock market. So we all understand that if you put your money in the stock market and the market does, well, I stopped reading from it. We all understand that if you put your money in the stock market and the market goes up, you make money. And if the market goes down, you lose money, right? And I always wait for them to say, right. I will not move forward until I know they're engaged with me.
Got it.
Perfect. So with an IUL, when the market goes up, you participate in those highs. And the interest that you're making can be really good, anywhere from 8 to 12% on your money. But if the market goes down, you get a guarantee from the insurance company not to lose any money. So for instance, your 401ks, your IRAs, those are directly invested in the stock market. And to give you an example, 2019 through 2021, the market did well. But on the downside, in 2022, the market went down. People lost 20% of their 401ks and IRAs. So to paint a picture for you, if you had 100 grand in your 401k account, now you would only have 80. So with an IUL that year, you wouldn't have really made anything. Your money kind of would have stayed the same like your average savings account. But more importantly, you wouldn't have lost anything because your money is always protected. Does that make sense? Yes, that makes sense.
Yes.
And with that, I'm not joking, maybe 1, 2 times have I ever had someone who's like, I don't get it. Never. Like, people are like, wow, yeah, that makes sense. Why don't more people have this? And I'm like, I know.
You got to qualify with your health. That's
right. And that is how I follow up. Usually I'm like, well, it's a lot more exclusive to qualify for. But yeah, like that is the breakdown that I've used. And I think the cash accumulation part is where people go off on a tangent so much. And then they confuse themselves while talking to somebody who's also confused. And that's just destined for failure. But with that and sticking to that, and like I always, like the word I always use, like with my agents, like don't start freestyling. Do not start freestyling at all. Like you can word this like slightly different, like if it just flows out of your mouth better, but keep it here because it's had success. So
it's a very clean, simple to understand explanation, which confused people take no action. So the more we say and the more we talk about cap rates and floors and ceilings and indexes and 50% participation rates, and the more we complicate it, the more they're going to have to research.
Yes.
But if we make it a simple explanation, it has these 3 features. This is what everybody likes about it. Let's see if you qualify. Now you take control. So please, how do you close it out? Any final things you're saying?
So I go over my illustrations with them. I'm a very visual pen and paper person myself. So I typically, unless I'm doing NLG, I'm like, all right, grab a pen and paper for me. I'm going to have you write a couple things down. So I'm going to have them write down the amount they're wanting to contribute, because that's the way this works. A lot of people, I actually tried to sell final expense leads like last week. I closed them with no script, but I had no idea that you guys present people with like 20, 15, and 10. I had no idea. I was just like, you're going to die. Someone needs coverage. So how much can you afford? And we're going to get you the best coverage. Like, I had no idea you guys did it that way. I've never done final expense. But
It's fascinating.
so I go over their options. And also by now, I know how they want to structure this. I know if it's like the cash accumulation is their focus. I know if the death benefit is their focus, or if it's balanced. So I'll, compare, I'll play. I love America. I'll go America first and foremost, always, unless I know for whatever like weird medication they're on or something, America will deny it. I love America forever. So typically I always try to go America. I'm going to pull numbers, I know how to structure it. It's very simple too with America. It's very, very easy. So I pull up their illustration and I'm having them write down what their death benefit is. I have them write down like, hey, write down permanent tax-free death benefit. Next to that, do and living benefits. And I go through the whole thing. I'm like, all right, putting this much into this monthly, at your age, being a non-smoker or smoker, whatever, this is going to get you this permanent tax-free death benefit. This is also going to be what you can access for the living benefits. And I give the description of what the living benefits actually cover. So I'll say if you were to get a terminal illness, meaning you have 12 months or less to live. If you were to get a chronic illness, meaning you're unable to perform 2 of your daily living functions like eating, bathing, walking, dressing yourself, transferring. If you were to get a critical illness like a heart attack, stroke, or cancer, or a critical injury, which is something like a brain injury, paralysis, a severe burn, any of that, you would have access to a portion of this death benefit while living. All right. Now below that, we're going to write down cash accumulation. And I have them write down like 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, whatever it illustrates at. And I have them write down the numbers it's illustrating for them at those years. And I let them know, hey, this is illustrated at a conservative 8.45%, or if it's 6.45% with NLG or 6.16% with F&G, I have them write that down. And I'm like, this is illustrated at a conservative this percentage. But over the past 20 years, we've seen an average rate of return closer to 12. The insurance carriers just like to I say that all the time. The insurance carriers just like to under-promise and over-deliver. So that means that these numbers could easily look a lot better. And then, I'm like, do you have any questions on that? Do you like those numbers? Like, is the $100 comfortable for you every single month for the long term? And like when they say like, yes, no, I'm just like, okay, cool. The way we can see if we can get you approved is by submitting a request for coverage. So I'm going to pull that up. I'm going to make sure I have the correct spelling of your name. We're just going to need to go over that medical we already went over, just a little more in depth. I'm going to need your, I don't really have a problem with people not trusting me. I think my delivery, like, I don't really like have that problem. Like, I don't need to prep someone and be like, yeah, like
you've done it enough. You know what to say. You know how to quickly answer, and that comes with reps.
Yeah. And that's really true, because in the beginning, you are not confident, like asking for somebody's social security number at all. It's like so nerve wracking. And now, like, I'm not going to even be like, yeah, this is how they check your like medical and stuff. I'm like, no, what's your social? We're getting to it. And then maybe afterwards, I'll be like, yeah, that's how they're going to check your medical. Like, I don't know, but I don't ever have problems with it, because I think like I just talk to them with confidence. And I think that really helps. So.
I love it. I love it. Jenna, this has been exquisite. That's just, thank you for the detail. Thank you for the time. I always ask this question. What do you say, like at the last 30 seconds to tie down the client, solidify yourself as their broker, don't talk to anybody else, like, and anything you do post sale? Because my whole thing with people is like, it's great to sell and chargebacks suck. So how can we mitigate that by taking care of clients as well as we take care of our own family, as well as we get taken care of? So what does Jenna Saunier do to
my closing is pretty much what was just taught to me walking in. And it was just, hey, make sure you save my number in your phone. If you need to make any changes at all to your policy, update the coverage, you know, change an address, anything like that, like you're stuck with me for life now. So I'm your person. I'm the family's insurance person. I'm everybody's insurance person. We're stuck for life. And I also I let them know that I'm going to be calling their beneficiaries if they're over 18. I got those phone numbers. I'm going to be calling them. I also let them know that I'm going to be sending them an application summary to their phone, and I make sure I do that. The coverage amount, you know, the premium, what it covers, you know, the effective date, their policy number, everything like that. And I also let them know, we recently started doing this. I also let them know, hey, no one else should be reaching out to you about this. If you get calls about this for any reason, even if they say they work with me, because I have had people do that to me. They said they have people I had an appointment with has said, oh, I work with her. She was in another appointment and took the sale and closed it. So I say it doesn't matter if they say they work with me. I'm going to have you write down this confirmation code, and I'm also going to text this to you in the policy summary. So I give them a confirmation code, and I let them know, do not talk to anybody else unless they have this code. So that's worked, and I haven't had any trouble with that.
I love it. Jenna, that's perfect. And so any final advice you've got to send all these excited agents who are dropping some JSs in the chat below to show you some love, but at the same time, final rally cry you've got for everybody?
Yeah. If the best piece of advice I can give for this industry is just to see it through and always focus on the big picture, because there are a lot of roller coasters for new agents, for intermediate, there's a bunch of different roller coasters, and you always have to just focus on the big picture. And you also have to show up for yourself and work hard. The leads aren't going to call themselves. You have to work the leads. I don't ever want to hear someone say these are bad leads or whatever. No, you have to put in the work, and you have to work hard if you want it. The people who are top producers, they're not just chilling. They are working, and they're working day in and day out. And it's important to have a set schedule and structure for yourself, and always be improving. Don't get complacent. Always be trying to implement and improve in any way. I'm really big on that. I see that works for somebody else. Guess what? I'm doing that immediately. And I just think it's really important, and you have to have a powerful mindset. You're gonna have bad days, but you have to shake that off, because that's not you feeling sorry for yourself isn't gonna solve anything at all. You have to have absolute trust in yourself that you can do it, and also be nice to yourself. Some things take time. It took me 3 months.
Then everything changed. And then everything changed. Jenna, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Keep dropping the JSs. Show her some love. What's as we close, what's your goals? Your goal to hit Hall of Fame? Your goal to build an agency?
I want to hit Hall of Fame. I want to hit Hall of Fame really, really bad. That is definitely one of my goals. And also, I want an absolute savage team. So I want to do what this did for my life. I want to give that to other people. I really do. And I love the people I work hand in hand. Dove is my number one guy who I've brought on. I've made him my ultimate partner in everything I do, other than Elise, because Elise is technically my upline, so Dove's my number one guy. I'm Elise's number one. So I'm just really grateful for the people that I have, and I want to always just continue to do better. I want to do 40, 50 on my pen every single month, and then I want my team just absolutely crushing it. And I want people to beat me in my sales. I want people in my team to outrate me. So
good luck. Good luck. Jenna seems a little competitive, though. Maybe we'll see how that comes. Hey, thank you. You're fantastic. And we're going to have you on again in a few months and hear what new incredible things you've created. So
thank you so much.